Hello.
Welcome, Nick. I expect you're coming
Nice.
from the issue that you posted.
Yeah, I just saw that you posted a Zoom link, so I figured I would just hop on for a little bit. Just wanted to see if yeah, why I was getting that error. I was reading the reply that you'd sent.
Yeah, it's a couple things, and we'll get into it a little bit more later if you want to stick around. The summary of it is basically that URI, it's not to be interpreted as for the dollar schema URI isn't supposed to be interpreted as a URL that should go that should be fetched. It's just an identifier. Um,
I see.
Probably VS Code is, I don't know. I've opened that issue and you can follow along there. I suspect that they have packaged the meta schemas with the appropriate URIs that they identify. Um, that one that you've used may not be recognized by VS Code and they may actually just go get it by themselves because they're an editor and they can make that choice.
Yeah.
At the same time, Jason made a good point on the issue that you opened that we're probably going to stop serving that URI anyway. There's a lot of problems with serving the latest from there. For instance, when we in the past when we have updated or when we have released a new spec, we would update that URI and then that would break anybody who is downloading the meta schema from that. So there are problems with hosting a latest meta schema in that way. And
Okay.
I think collectively we've decided just to not do that going forward.
So it's definitely preferred to use like the draft 7,
Right.
like this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
use
Okay.
use the draft specific URI, and you shouldn't have any problems. If you would go ahead and test using the draft specific URI, and if that does work, can you comment on that VS Code
Yeah,
issue
I'll try that
open,
real
please?
quick. Yeah. Let me restart VS Code just to see if that does anything.
Thank you.
Hi everyone. Good night. Good morning. Can you hear
Interesting.
me?
I'm still getting the 404, but there is some IntelliSense. I'll make a comment.
All right, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'll
no
let them
problem.
dig into it a little bit.
Okay, sounds good. All right, thank you.
Hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, can. Shall we get started?
Sure.
Okay. Welcome everyone to another Open Community Working Meeting. I'm going to share my screen. Let's start with some housekeeping. Reviewing together the meeting etiquette. We are going to record this meeting to share it with the community and also to upload it to YouTube. If someone is against sharing this recording in YouTube, please reach out to me in a direct message and I take care of uploading this one. We encourage everyone to challenge any language or behavior that is harmful, not inclusive, or against our code of conduct. We'll try to stay on mute when another person is speaking and use the Zoom reactions to ask for a turn to speak. And for today, we have just 2 items in the agenda, but we still have time to add more items. So if you have something in mind, just drop a comment, send me a message, or directly edit this issue. The last item that I just add 30 minutes ago was the related problem with this URL. JSONschema.org/schema. There was a missing redirect that was pointing to this address in the old site that wasn't created in the process of creating the new website, and I just created it. I decided to add this to the agenda because I'm not sure if this is the right thing to do. So I'll love to speak with you all to see if that redirect is correct. And get your thoughts about that. And the second item of the agenda is related understanding JSON schema PDF, because with the migration of the website, we are no longer generating this PDF. And I'd like to discuss with you what are the options to replace that behavior. Any comments so far with this preview teaser of the agenda? Okay, as we do in every session, we are going to start reviewing the action items of the last call. And in the last call, we have 2 items in the agenda. We reviewed the rollout of the website, and we discussed about the HTTP redirects to HTTPS. But as I wasn't in that meeting, but reviewing the notes, there was no action items. So if you have any comment related to what we discussed the past week, this is the time.
I think we generally decided we wouldn't look to try and fix this particular issue. Implementations should be able to cope with this, or have the meta schemas already downloaded, preferably as part of that implementation bundle. And it's only one implementation, at least that's been reported as having this issue. I don't know if anybody had any different version of what they saw as the outcome for that.
I think we all recognize that making this change is going to cause some people some pain. But it's something that they shouldn't have been doing in the first place. And so it's really just forcing those implementations / editors to fix their stuff. Whether we host it as a 301 or just not host it. If we are going to host it, then it needs to be a 301 to the HTTPS. I think that's the correct method to do that. And implementations should be able to handle that. There's a separate argument that we'll have later as to whether we should be hosting this particular URL at all.
I think this issue specifically was to do with not the generic /schema, but to do with pre-HTTPS schema URIs.
Right. Yeah, those we can host those as 301s redirecting. I think that's the right way to do it, and implementations should be able to handle a 301. I don't think it's too much more code to be able to handle something like that.
I seem to remember in some of the discussions, perhaps on Slack, or I don't think it was in GitHub issues or discussions. That I think the reporter was saying that there was a problem with a particular version of, or a version branch of Java where they actually didn't allow, or they had redirects, but they didn't allow following 301s where the protocol changed. And this is an explicit decision. So that could be a problem for Java implementations. I don't know the specifics, but I remember that was brought up as a concern.
Yeah, it sounded like the implementation was doing everything it was supposed to do. It was just the internal library that was doing something weird. It wasn't even their fault. My question is how exactly did we fix this problem? Because it looked like what we were doing was sending an HTML page with an HTML redirect in it. I would imagine that anybody actually using that that URL was not following the HTTP redirect.
Yeah, so that's a different thing to the manual redirect that you're talking about with just the generic schema URI. So this HTTP to HTTPS redirect is something new, which is because we migrated to Cloudflare, they've put in place automatically because it's HTTPS only. We could work around that by disabling HTTPS only. It's not especially difficult, but it might be a bit fiddly. On GitHub, I think GitHub was serving both HTTP and HTTPS versions of the site, so there was not a redirect in place previously for HTTP accessing meta schemas with HTTPS versus HTTPS. So that manual redirect is only for the generic schema.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't change the redirect to HTTPS, but the question I have is how Benha, did you fix this? Did you do a 30? Did you make it a 301 redirect or to the latest schema, or did you use the HTTP redirect that was, or I mean the HTML redirect that was we were originally using?
Yeah, first of all, I created the rule. I next time I should be waiting to discuss together. So first of all, I just wanted to apologize for that. Having said that, what I did is create a rule for HTTPS, but what I discovered is working for both HTTPS and HTTP regular. So yeah. And what I did is basically, this is the old website. There was a markdown file called schema.md with this code. And what I did is go to Cloudflare and create a redirect. Every time that we are receiving a schema request, I'm redirecting to this address. And it's working for both HTTPS and HTTP. I don't know why, but it's working.
Right. So so this is the old version that we're looking at. This is an HTML redirect, and so it sounds like what you changed it to is now doing an HTTP redirect, which I don't think that we should change that. I'm curious how the new website serves that. Does the new website not serve that as a file at all? It's just entirely now Cloudflare redirect?
I did a Cloudflare redirect, but we can change it to create a HTML redirect with a page. But It is tricky. I mean, I'm not an Next.js expert, so I'm learning in the way of deploying the website. But as far as I tried before, it's not easy to reproduce those markdown redirects as it is. So I needed to do
Yeah.
more research if we need to reproduce that.
I'm no expert either, but yeah, my concern is I don't want to make it easier to use this this URL, and the way that the problem was solved this time makes it easier to use it, which I think we want to go the other direction and even more discourage people from using it. So at best, I think it should be an HTML redirect rather than HTTP redirect.
Another interesting consequence of using, well, okay, I'll come back to that. I'm sorry. I don't want to derail this conversation, but when we do get to the generic schema URL, our friend Nick has posted another update.
I was typing, sorry. This was a question to me, correct?
No, I'll come back to
I
that. I
missed
just
the
wanted,
last sentence. Sorry.
I just wanted to surface that an update has been made to the generic schema issue, but we weren't done talking about the redirect issue, and so I'll wait.
I've said all I have to say, I think, unless somebody else has thoughts.
Yeah, if we are going to close this one, I just wanted to say that I sent a messages this morning to notify the recommendation, to remind this recommendation to implementers. Let's see, but for the moment, no more cases like this one. And crossing fingers for not having more. Okay, let's continue the discussion with the redirects. So this issue was raised today, 2 hours ago. I think that the person was connected in the beginning of the session before I connected. Basically, when I created the new website with all the checks and so on, I missed this redirect. I just found this conversation 30 minutes ago. I found that this rule was missing, and instead of waiting to discuss with everyone, I just created the rule. So yeah, next time there is no rush to wait an hour. So yeah, in the end, this is created in Cloudflare. Is this the right thing to do? This is my question. So the rule should stay, or should I remove it?
I vote remove it. I think this should be a 404. This URI is not associated with any meta schema. And meta schema IDs are URIs, are their identifiers anyway. The fact that we host at particular URLs is kind of a convenience, and it shouldn't be referenced in the $schema keyword. The issue that I posted in the chat is the one on VS Code that Nick opened, and his last comment shows that with the redirect, there's actually now a problem getting these secondary meta schemas, the vocab specific meta schemas, because it's trying to identify, it's trying to resolve a relative URL based on this generic URI, and it can't do that because those don't exist, which means he needs to use the draft specific URI.
I'm not following why that matters, but it shouldn't matter anyway because VS Code doesn't support vocabularies anyway. They're gonna throw errors anytime they see something like that.
But this is a different error than what they normally throw, what they normally have. What they normally have for 2012 is we don't fully support that, which is fine. But this, it looks like because there are hard references to the other to the vocabulary meta schemas, it can't resolve those references. And it has nothing to do with their support of vocabulary.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. But what they do, well, I mean, like I know that that's the error, but you know, even if those references work, they're still not going to be able to use that schema. Was the point I was trying to make.
Well, they should give the same, yeah.
But
We would
anyway,
expect them to get the same error that we don't fully support this.
yeah.
But the issue is that they're going to jasonschema.org/schema and downloading a meta schema, which is not something that they should do.
Right, especially in this case, that should be pointing to the latest version that they support at best.
At best, ideally they don't. Well, actually, at best they don't support this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I meant at most, but yeah. But yeah, that's why I said that we should discuss Juan's question about what should it actually point to. My thought was that if we serve it at all, like you said, we probably shouldn't. If we serve it at all, it should probably be draft 7, because beyond that there are incompatible changes that are likely to break anybody who is depending on that URL in the past. Before that, I don't think we had significant breaking changes. I think there's one in the way that integers are interpreted, but that's about it.
Was draft 4 ever hosted here?
Yes.
Well, I mean that's another breaking change.
Good point.
If anybody is pointing here expecting draft 4 and they're getting now draft 2012, that's huge.
Well, yeah, sort of. It's actually turns out that VS Code doesn't support ID at all. So so it wouldn't so technically for VS Code it would be compatible. Oh wait, no, there was also min items, or not min, exclusive minimum and exclusive maximum also changed. Yeah.
Can equal something, right? I recall some of those.
Yeah, they used to be Booleans that changed the behavior of minimum maximum, and now they're just values and just behave by themselves.
I mean, this URI/schema has been an HTML-based redirect for a very long time now. I would be very surprised if any implementation is automatically following that redirect. So I can't imagine that not serving it now is going to break anyone. And if it does, they've probably already been broken for a long time. So they're not going to see any change by us not serving that URI.
I agree with you, except that didn't Nick just come to us with his he was using that URI in VS Code and it used to work and now it doesn't?
I think what's happening, well, did he say he used to work, or used to not give an error? Because that's two different things.
That's a good question. My understanding was that this is what he's been using and it used to work for him and he just realized that it's not working anymore.
I
He
mean,
says,
I
additionally, VS Code no longer provides IntelliSense when I use that schema URL. So he says no longer, which means he apparently used to work for him.
yes, if it used to work, I would be very surprised if that was because it was downloading the schema
Me too.
via an HTML redirect. I think there's something else going on, and the fact that it is now different in some way has caused it to try and get the latest version, or it is different to what they have or something. I don't know, but yeah, it's very strange that it was working in some capacity before.
I wonder if VS Code, I mean, I doubt very many implementations are doing this, but it wouldn't surprise me if VS Code was following the HTML redirect manually.
I mean, it might have accidentally been doing that. It is an Electron-based app. It's not unreasonable to assume it had that capability because it has browser access. But it still strikes me as odd.
Well, even then, even if it used to work before, it sounds from this conversation that making use of that $sign schema, which is just pointing to something which is not even clear what it should point to, whether draft 7 or something later, that sounds to be an issue by itself. And if the conclusion of all of these by communicating with these users that this user is now using draft specific meta schemas, that seems like the right fix after all.
It also should be noted that up until a few months ago, VS Code in their documentation actually used that URI as a recommendation. I posted an issue and got them to change it. So it's no longer in their documentation now, but I mean, it was there up until a few months ago. So people are going to be reading that, or we're going to be reading that and using that value in the dollar schema, expecting it to work. And they probably just never went back to look at the documentation after it updated. So there are probably a lot of people who are using it specifically in VS Code.
How did people even find this? Is this URL something that it's on the specs of JSON schema itself? I don't recall seeing it anywhere.
No, we promoted
Like,
it
where
when
did they
we
find it
started
on the
putting
first
it
place?
in.
It was in the draft 4 spec. I'm not sure if it lived anywhere past that, but it's certainly not in the spec for a very long time.
Because if it is mentioned on draft 4 and only draft 4, I guess then to your point, Jason, maybe even that should only point out to draft 4, which was where it's actually defined.
Right. That's what I would expect. After that, we've made breaking changes, and pointing that to anything else would be breaking somebody who is depending on it in the first place. Although
I think
now
it
it's
would be
been
worth
pointing
checking if
who
it's
knows what. So, you know, if we change, no matter what we do, we're going to be breaking somebody probably.
yeah. I guess my question is if this URL was promoted on a spec itself on the specification, then I guess it probably maybe it's worth bringing it back, at least pointing to that one, because it was at least published in something of JSON schema. But if this URI was never mentioned in the RFCs, not even draft 4, but somehow came to be, maybe then it's worth just removing it.
I mean, with every release of JSON schema recently, we've updated the redirect to be the latest. What was it defined as in draft 4? Was it defined as it would always point to the latest, or just this is where you should get your meta schemas?
I don't remember exactly. I think it did say that it was pointing to the latest. I think it makes sense to kind of like what Juan is saying, have it keep it around, but pin it to the last spec version that that said, you know, use this that included that URL, which is probably at most draft 7. I'm gonna try to look it up.
I'm looking it up now. The following values are predefined, including the one we're looking at. JSON schema written against the current version of the specification. Yeah, that's all it says. So it is intended to be the current version. It also declares /hyper schema URI, which is against the current version of that specification. And then it also gives draft 4 and draft 3 URIs. So it looks like the /schema was supposed to be maintained as the latest.
And I think it's worth noting that we've had in that redirect file for at least 4 years that the unversioned meta schema URI shouldn't be used and is just for convenience in the browser. That's been the message we've been telling people for the last 4 years when they've hit this redirect in the browser. So I think it would be very strange to go back on that.
What do you mean by go back on that? Do you mean it'd be strange to like remove it, or be strange to say, oh, this is now the thing that we're doing?
I think it would be strange to say this is now the thing that we're doing.
Okay.
I mean, we've said, you know, you shouldn't be using this.
Right. I agree. You should not be using this.
So do we prefer to remove it entirely then?
That's my preference.
Did Greg, did you find what was the last spec that included?
No, I just looked at draft 4 to see what it said.
For some reason I can't get to this website. Oh, there, now it worked. Never mind. But yeah, I'd be curious to know when the last one was, and I'd be okay with pinning that URL to the latest spec that
It's
that
not in
actually
draft 6.
find it.
It is not in draft 6.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I'd pin it to draft 4 or remove it.
I mean, my preference would be to remove it. I don't really want to facilitate or, you know, maintain anything that supports draft 4 really at this point. Like that doesn't feel like a good thing to be doing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Don't promote draft 4.
Well, it's not that we're promoting it, it's that we would be keeping it around to not break legacy code.
Well, is it not breaking legacy code? Because right now it's pointing to 2012, and if we revert it to draft 4, that's going to break somebody.
Good point. There's no way that that is providing any stability to anybody. Let's get rid of it.
I think you have your answer, Benha.
Okay, I got it. However, I think that instead of just go back and remove the rule, maybe it's worth to create like announcement to the people, give them like, I don't know, 3 weeks or 1 month or something. I don't know what is the best number of days. So we can make the removal like with no rush. So no one can complain
It's-
about not having the
I
chance
mean,
to.
they've had 4 years. Like that redirect was put in place, or the last time that redirect was edited was 4 years ago. The template that says don't use this.
But I think to Benja's point, would it be worth at least creating either a very tiny announcement or like a blog post or whatever saying this is actually a bad practice and we don't recommend this anymore, in case if anybody Googles this URI, at least you're going to find some authoritative resource saying you should not do this for this reason.
What I would think as something we could do is we could just turn it into a page and be like, hey, you've ended up here because for some reason, like you found this URL. It's not a URL anyway, but that's not the point. Point is don't use this. And if a tool you're using uses this, then it's either terribly out of date and you shouldn't be using it, or file an issue and like point them to us.
That sounds good.
Without the redirect, obviously.
Yeah, I agree. I would still do as Benha says and give people some a notice, just in case somebody's doing something that that depends on it in some way.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm happy that my mistake of missing this redirect is raising this issue. So yeah, so it was a good thing in the end. Okay, I'll work on a draft of the announcement and get some feedback so we can have a proper removal of this. Cool. Any comment before going to the next topic of the agenda? Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. And let's go with the next item. So we received a comment by a community member that the standard JSON schema .pdf document was not present in the new website. And it's something that we are not generating anymore. Understanding JSON schema was a standalone repository with their own processes to create this PDF. But in the new version of the website, the blog understanding JSON schema and the website is everything in one single repo. It's not going to be easy to keep generating this PDF. However, this has like 700 wiki downloads. So we can do some things to mitigate this situation. And I wanted to check with everyone what are their preference. We can do some research to see if we can still generate the file, but it's going to be tricky, as I said. And the second alternative that I found is create a manually modified PDF with a announcement saying that the document is not up to date and redirecting the people to the website to see the last updated version of the documents. So yeah,
I'd like to
check with you.
I'd like to float another option. We find the PDF that used to be there. And we edit it and we put like this big outdated watermark over every page. And then we just host that. So if we, okay, so we have it, we have the PDF. And what we could do is, like I said, put a watermark on there or put some kind of notice on every page that says this is outdated and will no longer be supported moving forward. Check the website for the latest content. And then we just host this file there. People get what they, people get something of what they want, but then they also know to go to the website to get the latest thing.
Yeah, sounds great to me. Is the easiest way. I don't know if the investment of generating this document, still generating this document, is going to be worthy. So yeah, I prefer what you said. I uploaded this one to mitigate the situation temporary, and this is the last one that I had is January 11th. So we can keep this one and add the watermark. Sounds great to me. The easier.
Yeah, my preference is to not do anything at all, not host the PDF. I think that it's not worth us maintaining in any way, and I think if people need an offline version of this, there are plugins, browser plugins that people can use to make content available offline, and they can just use that. I think that's enough.
I mean, people can download the repository as well. Yeah, it's the Markdown now, so there are Markdown renderers.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary for us to put any effort into this. In fact, I would remove the old version of the PDF that was put up there.
I'll prefer to keep it, but I'm up to vote by everyone because I already made some noise with the new website, so I prefer to avoid more noise. So I think that the time needed to add the watermark is going to be, I don't know, 30 minutes or so. I honestly prefer that one, but I'm just serving the community, so whatever we decide, I'll do it.
Yeah, I'm fine with adding the watermark. Just I don't think there's any value in us trying to keep it up to date.
Yeah, what I discovered when I was analyzing this issue is that the PDF is not available like in multiple sites. So it wasn't easy for me to find another places. So, and there are no a lot of JSON Schema books around until we get Juan books published. So I think that is a good thing having this PDF still available some way. So yeah, let's keep it. If it's okay for everyone with the watermark, and see what feedback we get by the community. Do we have a yes? Let's keep it with the watermark. Thumbs up. Cool. Thank you. Let me check if we have more items in the agenda. See if we have a last minute comment or something. We don't have more items in the agenda. So if you have something else in mind, this is the time to share it. If not, we are free to go. No? Okay, so it is all for today. Thank you everyone for making the time for connecting to this meeting. And let's keep discussing in GitHub and Slack. So take care and see you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Later.
Bye.
Thank you.